Let's just be honest with each other. All things considered, the Game Boy Pocket is kind of the lamest model, even when it's modded. It only plays games in black and white, it has poor battery life due to its AAA batteries, and it can't even play every Game Boy game. We all know that it's the fat bottom girls that make the gaming world go round, but today I'm going to prove it's what's on the inside that counts. The Game Boy Pocket Color is nothing new to this channel. In fact, it's one of my favorite projects that only made me go a little crazy. Here goes nothing! Thankfully, Natalie upgraded the PoCo kit for a retail release to make things easier on those of us who struggle. Jokes aside, while this is an easier revision, I still wouldn't recommend just anybody try this. I still struggled this time around, and I still don't feel comfortable making this a full video tutorial. Instead, this will be a tale of struggles like my Ultimate PS1. Natalie has a great tutorial on her channel if you're brave enough. I'll link it down below. But in order to complete this build, you have to be willing to get your hands dirty. This mod is not for the faint of heart. Even with all the upgrades, we still have to saw a Game Boy in half. I'm just kidding. I'm going to use my craft knife instead. My preferred method is to score the board repeatedly underneath the cart slot. Once you think the groove is deep enough, you can try to snap it in two, but you'll probably want to score the other side as well. Either way, this sound never gets any easier. Also, I recommend sanding down the edge to avoid any potential shorts. Now don't forget, this is the ultimate Game Boy Pocket, so I can't just do one mod. Natalie also sent her safer charge board my way, so let's install that now. This little board will allow you to use a LiPo battery in a safer way than most other battery mods, hence the name Safer Charge. LiPo batteries still scare me. It's better optimized for IPS kits and allows you to actually charge and play at the same time, which most Game Boy LiPo mods don't actually allow. You can physically do it with a lot of them, but it's not exactly safe. Safer Charge is a pretty cool little doohickey. And while I'm notoriously not a big fan of LiPo mods, I feel like I'm in good hands with this one. My favorite part of this new revision is that I don't have to transfer every little component. Last time wasn't as bad as some other Pocket Color mods where you literally have to transfer every single piece to a brand new board. I'm not hating at all, I just don't have that kind of patience, and neither does my back. But I am very thankful that Natalie installed every new component that she could. So that just leaves us with a realization that I messed up. 30 minutes later, I was back in business and ready to connect the two halves. This was a struggle point for me last time because I ended up having to wire everything individually. I just couldn't get anything to work with the ribbon cable before, but now it's reinforced and ready for round 2. After tinning all the solder points, this was honestly a breeze. I only had to reflow a couple of the vias for some of the buttons, and I'm pretty proud of myself. So all that was left to do was install the power switch and IPS kit. You can relocate the power switch to the top right pretty easily since you need to remove the IR stuff anyway. Plus, Natalie added a convenient flex board to make it all a little cleaner. Though I would recommend soldering the 3 and C wires directly to the pins on the switch, and mainly just use the flex board as an easier way to tape it all down. Either way, the double-sided tape was not wanting to stick down for me, so instead I used this ground pad and this ground via to secure the power switch down. And that switch ain't budging. Next up was trimming the shell. Everyone's favorite part. I did use a pre-trimmed shell for this project, however, this is not pre-trimmed for the USB-C port or the battery. The USB-C hole was fairly easy. I just used my craft knife to open up the existing hole and sanded it down until it all fit. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. Fitting in the battery was going to be a lot tougher. While I did get the correct size for the space, the battery is a little longer, so you need to get rid of a lot of extra plastic in a lot of awkward areas. Thankfully, it's nothing that a bit of time and flush cutters can't fix. It ain't pretty, but again, it's good enough. Now we should be able to just close it up and be done, right? Right? Well, guess what? Whenever I closed it up, it wouldn't turn on. If I left out the top screws, it was fine. But if I properly closed it up, no life at all. Was it my newfound way of securing the power switch down? Nope, just one of the pins on the power switch was broken off. I just had to super glue the pin back into place, wait a day for it to dry, and we were back in business. But also, I never officially soldered the battery down because I didn't have any connectors. So in the meantime, I was just using USB-C wall power for all the testing. Oh yeah, Natalie's board allows you to just plug it into the wall, no battery needed. So now is the time to install my newly acquired battery connector and finish this bad boy up. The only problem was I got the wrong connectors. I got JST XH connectors instead of just JST connectors. Either way, my battery's smaller connector still fit into the larger female connector, so I was just gonna roll with it. I lied to you earlier. That wasn't the only problem, because now my problem was the pins for the connector are too big for the holes on the safer charge board. And instead of just waiting and getting the correct size connectors, I decided to try and force it in there like any sane human would. And then I learned that actions have consequences. In the middle of all of my battery shenanigans, I accidentally knocked the Game Boy while it was all stretched out across the table. I caught it before it fell, but it didn't sound or feel very good. I immediately tried to test it with no luck. But since I just spent 30 minutes trying to force a connector where it was too big to fit, I couldn't tell if the problem was that I broke the safer charge board or the ribbon cable. I tested every point for continuity to make sure that the ribbon cable was good. I tested the fuses to make sure they didn't go bad. I removed the safer charge board and swapped in an original power board. I even tried another donor Game Boy Color. I was lost. I thought back to the last time I did this mod. I relived my struggles to see if I was missing something. And then it hit me. In a last-ditch effort, even though my testing suggested that the ribbon cable was fine, I decided to connect every point individually. And when I did it, it fired right up. But I couldn't celebrate yet. There was still a chance that my battery shenanigans screwed up the safer charge board. And if I shenan once, you can bet I'll shenan again. But this time when I reached for another battery connector, I realized the pack I got came with some female connectors that were attached to wires. They just blended in so well with the male connectors that I didn't notice. So I swapped my battery's connector for one of these, and then I soldered the wired female connector to the safer charge board, and that worked with no problems. It's crazy what happens when you do things properly. Now I could officially close it all up and be done with this project. I could finally take a deep breath after a full month of panicking, thinking I broke my friend's product and potentially ruined the entire charity event. Natalie, thank you so much for donating all of this stuff. It genuinely means a lot to me. Please go check out our website for all sorts of cool products, including the things that I showed off today. Yes, the PoCo kits are now officially available for you to purchase, but it's still not for beginners. I also want to make it abundantly clear that none of the problems I encountered were Natalie's fault. It was my stupidity and carelessness that caused everything to go awry. She still somehow believes in me when I clearly don't believe in myself. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you're new here, subscribe. And of course, let me know what you're thinking in those comments down below. But as always, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later, guys. I'll save this for the end, but some of you may have noticed that I was originally trying to use the wrong mod kit. Natalie's PoCo only works with this specific kit because you can actually adjust the screen position all the way down and not just like 12 pixels. Also, I shattered the first screen I installed. Don't tell anybody.